Hello, I am Andrea Griffiths, Senior Developer Advocate at GitHub, and we are recording live from GitHub Universe 2025, where I have the honor and privilege to speak to the leaders in our industry that are not only using the tech, but also leading the teams. And today is my pleasure to be joined by Jeffrey Cobble. Welcome, Jeffrey.
Thank you, ma'am.
You are Director of Cloud Platform Enablement at Fidelity Investments. We're going to be talking about enterprise, how artificial intelligence is changing the software development lifecycle, and what it actually takes to build these high-performing teams that are facing huge technical challenges. So, Jeff, let's dive right in. You're responsible for a ton, including the automation and application lifecycle for enterprise cloud systems at a scale that is enormous. You spent 20 years in the Marine Corps, and you retire, and then you have transitioned into leadership roles, now at Fidelity. Doing engineering DevOps, what do you think are some misconceptions when developers think about how enterprises adopt technology at scale? Or maybe misconceptions that you yourself had before you joined Fidelity?
I think the biggest misconception I had was just how much companies are really involved in tech that you would not associate as tech. I actually came to Fidelity because of my wife. She worked with Fidelity, and when I was looking at locations I wanted to work at, she said, "Hey, apply at Fidelity." I kind of just laughed and went, "Yeah, sure." They do finances. But come to find out, Fidelity actually does a whole lot of technical things that you would not think they actually do. And when I got into it, you start to get a view of just how broad and big scale the technical aspect of these companies really are. That coming in, I had no idea. You'd think it's like just a small group of people doing some tech here and there, building a few applications. No, there's a lot going on. It's been fun to get to see that side of things and understand how it all plays together with how you take all of that to what our customers see day in and day out when they do things through fidelity.com or different applications that we have, and knowing that you're the one that gets to help bring that to be what it actually is.
That's amazing. You've done performance engineering and work with DevOps. Now you're leading this ALM teams. That's a progression that really touches every point of automation from different angles, right? For all the roles that you've been in, how has that shaped your approach to automation and what you've seen teams sometimes kind of get wrong when they're trying to automate everything all at once?
Yeah, I think, you touched earlier that I do have the military background. So that was kind of my base, where I had an understanding from that world that when I came into Fidelity, started doing technology, it's an interesting transition. I can talk to operational planning and how to do risk management, all those things. They're very, very similar to what you would do outside the military. And first joining, though, you kind of have to bite it a little bit in that your resume doesn't translate perfectly to the civilian side of things. Yes, they're very, very similar, but it's very difficult to get there. But once I broke that barrier, got my foot in the door with Fidelity, then it started to become transparent. All these things that I used to do, they're really the same. With performance engineering, it was like, okay, what's the thing we're trying to identify? What's all the planning that we have to have? And then executing those performance tests, then going back and doing analysis of what went wrong, what happened. And the same thing we do is it's just doing an after action that I'm used to doing. It's the same concepts.
Right.
So that helped a lot, where I didn't have to learn a lot of those things that somebody brand new to technology normally would. When I first came through was when we were first starting to do some of our, as with a lot of people, cloud journey, things like that. So it was really fun getting to learn how to performance test in something no one's really touched yet. So I was highly involved with that aspect of it, to be able to say, hey, when you're going to the cloud instead of on-premise, it's how do you test this? How do you do resiliency? How do you confirm that everything's going to meet SLAs and things that you have to meet? And then once I got that background and started transitioning over to more of the platform enablement with cloud and platforms that I'm in now, all of that learning that I had from the performance side transitioned perfectly, because there's things that we're seeing teams with problems and I'm going like, it's this, I don't have to ask.
Yeah, I've been there.
I know right now that's a thread problem because your timeout is not set properly. So that was really cool to be able to take the things that I learned up front initially and then transition those straight into the problems that we're having. Beyond that, we do a lot of automation to enable the plethora of developers that we do have. Well, we can't have everybody developing the same thing.
Yes.
That's a waste of time. And so we do a lot of things to, from my team's perspective, enable all the developers to enjoy all the awesome things that are out there, but do it where they don't have to learn a lot of the lessons we've already figured out. So my team, we get to sandbox and play around and understand the real nuances of the tools, and then figure out how do we, within guardrails and enablement, let everybody else go have fun.
Developer experience is so talked about in our industry, but very few companies are actually investing in making sure that when, like you said, you've done the sandboxing, you've done the hard part, now developers just get to go to work and use the tools, and you provided the pathway for that. Speaking of the pathway that's being paved, we're at GitHub Universe. You saw the keynote yesterday. A lot of innovation around AI, of course. AI is an integral part of the entire software development lifecycle, code generation, testing, deployment, all of it. You're living this at an enterprise scale. What do you think is something teams need to make sure they get right as they begin to think about adopting these tools?
Well, one of the first pieces of advice I would give is we want to jump in, we want to move quickly, but we have to do it somewhat conservatively to understand what the implications actually are. Example of what I mean by that is I have a new developer on my team that came in straight from college. She's awesome. She's motivated. She really wants to come out and do great things. And she gets to use AI. And that's what she used, which was awesome. She was able to, I'm talking 3 weeks on my team.
Wow.
Come out and develop a support intake form, basically, that it allows all the other developers to interface with us and request help in a much better way than what we were doing at the time. She developed it all on her own, which was awesome. Great. The gotcha was when I went back to her and said, hey, talk me through this code. And she kind of goes, I don't really know. It's like, so that's one of the big gotchas we're going to have to pay attention to with this rollout is that, yes, there's a lot of very awesome, very useful tools. It absolutely can accelerate you, but you also have to be careful that we don't lose the engineering skills that you need to be able to then understand what it is doing to help guide it the right way. The other big one that at least with my team and everybody I'm talking to across our enterprise is like, we're in the kind of that, you can't use the calculator on the test because you never know when you're not going to have a calculator problem. We need to be able to still continue to do the things, but the way that we're working is definitely shifting. I would definitely say that we're moving much more into, we're going to be much more analytical, technical thinkers versus having to necessarily decide the exact code. We need to understand how we're architecting that code and thinking through, I won't say going back to waterfall development, but almost kind of that level of thinking where, yes, you can sit there and iterate and do this and that. If you have a known thing you're trying to develop, just do the legwork right now and say, here's the things that I need it to do. What's the business use case? And tell AI those things.
Yes.
If it has the context, it's going to do really cool stuff. But if you sit there and just go, hey, make this form do this, but it doesn't know the why or anything else about it, it's going to do what you asked it. But it may do some things you didn't necessarily want it because you didn't give it the whole picture.
Yes, 100%. I'm concerned for our critical thinking skills in the long run, in a way that this enablement and empowerment of now can be 20 times faster. I can vibe code anything, but then we go back to looking at fundamentals and talk me through the code, and that's the gotcha. How do you encourage your developers now to continue to be spec-driven, understand how to explain it the same way you explain it to a human? You can explain it to the AI with proper documentation, with the security guardrails that are needed. But how do you encourage them to embrace that critical thinking part and keeping tight fundamentals as they're taking advantage of all the tools that they now have?
On my team, because I can directly control my team, writing some unit tests, like you will do a couple of these yourself. You're more than welcome to use AI to help you understand how and what you're doing, but I need you to do a few on your own. Then go for it. use all the tools, use them to your advantage. I'm not saying you can't.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, we want you to use them because they do bring a lot of good value, but making sure that you are keeping yourself honest and taking the time to not let those skills atrophy, because over time they will.
Yes.
Like we'll forget. I think one of the cool aspects though is I no longer technically have to know the specific language, because I can shift from Python to Java to TypeScript to whatever. I don't care. I don't need to know that specific syntax anymore. I need to know the fundamentals. What's a if then? What's a, like all the loops, all the different things. The gap we're going to have though is specific languages require very technically specific things that are only that language.
Yes.
Like some languages you have to close connections. Others you can just automate it. Once it's done doing what it's doing, it automatically closes connections. They're not going to know those things. What we've done inside is we've kind of spread out and did train the trainer type model.
Fantastic. Yes.
So we took the time to say, hey, we're going to take a smaller group, get you to understand these fundamentals, get you to understand the problem statements, the gotchas, and then said, okay, now you get to go have fun, teach people, because it's all people who really like this tech.
Yes.
And are really interested. So they have drive, they have motivation to see it happen and get it right. And then watching them go out and just say, okay, I need you to help all these other developers understand the same concept. It's working. We've had a lot of good feedback from that model.
I like that concept. It's kind of like responsible championship, right? Like now you know what the expectation is, and now you get to go and take that one-to-many and multiply it across the org.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I have to talk a little bit about your career. That is incredible. 20 years in the military. And I'm also a former service member, and that transition was no joke. And I'd love for us to be able to share some of the things that help you as you were thinking into starting this new chapter. You shared earlier how some of the strategic planning and how you're breaking apart problems, those are things that you were doing for 20 years, right? You apply a lot of those principles. How were you able to translate that effectively into your new role? And is there any advice that you could offer for folks who might watch this and think, I'm about to enter this transition point in my life and don't know how to do it?
Yeah, I would say to start with on that, give yourself credit. A lot of service members get out of the military, and we were talking off camera a little bit about this problem. I'm a Marine infantry guy by trade. That's what I did. That is not tech world at all.
No.
As a matter of fact, it's about this exact opposite as you can get. The problem that I've seen a lot of service members have is that they can't do a direct translation, but most service members, they went straight out of high school or straight out of college, depending upon if you went enlisted or either one, same concept. That's all you know for most service members.
Yes.
And so when you get out, you don't know what to expect. You're like, you have your preconceived notions, or you have these people that were the experts that knew everything, that the military is also what they've always known because they just got out of the military and then went straight to try to help people get out of the military, but never actually did it.
Yes.
And I would say that absolutely the leadership aspect, the planning, the risk management, all of these things translate to any industry. It does not matter whether you were in that industry to start. Now, you may have to come in and fill the gap. Like for myself, I had to learn technology. But military, we're used to learning things quickly and going, okay, yep, here's A, B, C, D. No problem. Let's do it. And you're going to have to get your foot in the door. That's the tougher part, because of the fact that on outside the military, the civilian sector doesn't also know the other side. So it's a two-way street. It's being able to tailor the resume, which now that we have AI becomes much easier because you can say, hey, this is my military background. Here's all the things that the job posting is looking for. Help me translate this. So nice plug for AI there. It works. I've used it a couple times on some things, and it actually does a pretty good job because it does understand those things. The other interesting problem is that on the enterprise side, also from managers typically do not understand your real background. And obviously the longer you were in the military, the more senior you get. Like when I get out, I was at regimental operations. That's like 7,000 plus people easy when you're doing full regimental ops. That's a lot compared to, I have a team of 10 that I manage at the moment. Yes, I obviously help enable for a lot more, but the stressors, I guess, for lack of a better term, I get to sit back and go like, you know what? Break for a minute and breathe here. Whereas in the military, it's go, 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 go. The other thing that I really appreciate about the civilian side is, yes, you need to be a go-getter, you need to be proactive, but from military, it's a hard transition to learn that's not everything anymore. Like the work-life balance matters. If you're not having fun at work, you need to start asking those questions. Whereas in the military, it's just, you're in this job, you're in this team, this is what you're doing. When you make the transition, you get to decide those things. And so look for the jobs you're having fun at. And you're naturally, when you're having fun at work, going to want to go after the things that make sense, that also drive business objectives, because you're having fun. And if you enjoyed your time in the military, we just naturally go, this is how we operate. I'm going to go and give my best effort.
Yes.
Really enjoy what you're doing. And if you're not, you need to ask questions like, are you in the right job, the right company, the right culture, and look for that. And then as you do that, you'll be building that resume. You've started to build the background as you kind of figure out what you really want to do when you grow up, and just go enjoy yourself.
Jeff, it sounds like you're having a lot of fun at Fidelity. I love that for you. I really do. You have a background that's very strong in leadership, and having to translate that into teams that are building and managing these huge application life cycles. When you're thinking about the challenges that the team might encounter, for you as a leader, what is one thing that you have brought from your military experience into the joy of being a developer, how you make it so they actually want to come and have fun in your team as well?
One of the big premises of leadership in the military is lead from the front. And I think if you really take that to heart, the leadership aspect from the military is always training your replacement. Like you should be able to say who is going to come and take your spot if you're not around. I really enjoy that aspect of what I do, because I get to not only be a techie, I get to have fun, I get to have some time with hands on keyboard, go actually learn and see. So I'm actually showing my team, like when I'm asking you to do something, I know what I'm talking about, and they trust that. Having their back. Like my team does support for things. You get some people that get snippy sometimes, and I will very quickly, it's a running joke on my team, they just sit back. It's like, grab the popcorn, Jeff's coming. Jeff's coming. Yeah. And supporting them in that, and making sure that they know that you have their back for everything. Same military concept we always do, like praise in public, criticize in private. You have to take that into this, and it works really well. And the team respects you for that.
100%. I love that. Leading from the front. You think staying close to the tech has helped you as a leader?
I think it does. I like knowing what I'm planning. And because I can, where I sit, have the ability to kind of live in both worlds as needed. Like I can't just sit there hands on keyboard 24/7, especially because I sit right in the middle of a lot of new technology, things that we're adopting, trying to figure out. There's no clear product owner definition. The space I'm living in is rolling out things like AI developer assist type tools. Like, those are new. We don't know. So you have to understand the nuances of them to then develop them, because you may go down a path that's absolutely not going to work if you haven't taken the time to really get to know the tech. And my ability to interface with like individual developers, mid-tier developers, product area leads, like you name it, gets me the ability to see the picture from a lot of different areas as stakeholders that are using the tools, both directly, indirectly. From an enterprise scale, we want to provide capabilities, but we have independent teams that also need their nuanced way of doing things. How do you figure that out? Well, you can't figure that out if you don't go talk to them and then think through, okay, can I get to that 80% and then let you figure out the other 20? Like, how do we do that? We don't have to have the ownership of everything. I need to tell you the guardrails. And that's one thing that I do personally here from the Marine Corps side. We always called it left and right lateral limits. Here's where you can make decisions at your level to implement and use the thing that I'm enabling for you. You're not allowed to go to the left and right. So we're talking governance gates, we're talking all the security monitoring, et cetera. Those are outside of your span of control as the developer, but everything in here, go for it. Have fun. I want you to learn. As a matter of fact, I have some people I literally say, hey, do me a favor, try to break it. Almost red team style. some of the things we're fixing to roll out, we're going to do the same thing. Like I want people explicitly, red team, blue team, some of you trying to go golden path development, but I need some of the others find out things that this thing is going to enable that we don't want or shouldn't be doing, because we've got regulatory compliance things we have to meet. And we want to make sure that those are maintained throughout the whole chain.
Yeah, putting the true stressors, like the real world scenarios, because it's so easy for us sometimes to get in these loops of adoption. Not everything is roses, and there are challenges especially when you're in industries that are highly regulated. Anything coming up in the pipeline that you're excited about?
I was actually waiting for GitHub Universe to roll out some of the features that were announced that I think are going to be game changers, to be fair. You know, we're in a race at the moment. At the end of the day, the agentic patterning, if you understand how to talk to AI, that's the start, right? But then the gap right now is all the context. How do I pull in an enterprise level worth of information and make it to where AI can see it? That's a hard problem to solve. But as things roll out within the same ecosystem, expose those things or expose governance controls, as an example. How do I make sure that any security findings, I don't need to have developers take all these fun retroactive security findings and manually go do that anymore. I can just say, hey, AI, go knock yourself out. Here's the thing that's wrong. Don't change my functionality. Don't break things, but go fix all these things. The amount of time saved that we're going to get from capabilities like that is insane. Because let's be fair, a lot of enterprises have a whole lot of findings that developers could care less about.
Yes.
You know, it's not the fun thing. It's not, I get to go learn, develop, and create. That's tech debt to them. So I think that's the thing I'm looking forward to the most. Documentation, security findings, you name it. Let AI do that. AI is really good at it. That's deterministic, known, patterned things that AI excels at. Then let developers go do the critical thinking, the other things, while still using AI capabilities, but now they're having fun because they're thinking through the problems and going, how do I really do this? How do I solve this problem? Versus, oh, I've got this cross-site request forgery thing I have to go fix over here. You know, they don't want to do that. They want to do the fun things.
And then back to that developer experience, like I'd much rather not be looking at 25,000 security advisories when I know that there is an agent that can take care of that for me.
Right.
Amazing. Jeff, thank you so much for being so generous with your time and knowledge today. Where can people find you if they want to follow you online, they want to keep up with what you're doing at Fidelity?
I am on LinkedIn.
Okay.
So you can look up Jeff Cobble on LinkedIn. And if people want to reach out, obviously within constraints there, I'm happy to help people. I really enjoy talking to people and talking through problem statements and saying, hey, what are you trying to do? And learn from each other. It's a fun time because we're in a space that's constantly changing.
Yes.
And everybody's got different experiences, different ideas, and I'm more than happy to do that.
I think we're in good hands with engineering managers like yourself. So this is great. I'm happy for your team. Thank you for sharing it with us. Hopefully some of you can take some of these lessons to heart and apply some of this. So thank you so much, Jeff.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
You as well.
Thank you all so much.
Great.